Hello, welcome back to another installment of Becoming a Sister Wife. I'm doing this on my computer and in hopes it will work. So you're just gonna see my face and me reading. So let's get it, and it's in the point of view problem. When Cody and I got engaged, we didn't have enough money to get married or to help me move from southern Utah to Lehigh. Janelle offered to let me move in with her, but I was desperate to avoid this situation. I needed time to explore my relationship with Cody. This would have been impossible living under the same roof as another wife. It wouldn't have been easy on anyone. I don't believe Cody would have been as emotionally involved in our relationship had I been living with Janelle, nor would that situation have been fair on their marriage. So for the moment, I stayed put in St. George. Even though we had no money to get married, Cody dreamed of a big, fancy wedding. It's his view that since polygamists marry so often, they don't value the marriage ceremony and the reception as they should. They don't have enough to make the day special. For the most part, they don't do enough to make the day special. For the most part, polygamous weddings are humble. Cody swore that when he and I married, it was going to be a big deal. While I love all the sweetness and romance attached to a big wedding, I didn't want all the bother and romance attached to a big wedding. And I certainly did not want the drama I worried would come with the territory. The Browns had a comfortable and complicated family. I didn't want to come storming in with a huge party and make myself the center of attention. I wanted a quiet yet romantic wedding, and I wanted it to happen as soon as possible. But no matter what size wedding Cody and I decided on, we were going to have to wait. It was not entirely due to financial constraints that we were forced to put off our wedding. We got engaged at the end of September, and I was hoping that we could find a way to be married by December at the latest. My future sister wives were unhappy with this plan. When I discovered this, I knew that I was going to have to be incredibly sensitive to their feelings and wishes as I planned my wedding. I quickly realized how foolish I had been to consider getting married in December. I didn't want my wedding to Cody to distract from the Brown family's Christmas. I didn't want my event to eclipse the children's Christmas. Getting married in January was also out of the question, as it was Mary's birthday, Janelle's anniversary, and my son Dayton's birthday. February to post similar problems. While Cody and I were figuring out the best and earliest possible date for our wedding, the television show that he had been discussing since we got engaged went from a dream to a reality. The show's producer, Tim Gibbons, sold a pilot to TLC. TLC was going to help us pay for our wedding. I knew that having a big camera meant the world to Cody, so I consented. This immediately posed another problem. They wanted to open the show with our wedding. Cody and I vehemently objected. It would be a grave disservice to Cody's first 3 wives to feature his wedding to me in the opening episode of the show. Focusing on a new wife would shortchange their famous, rich family history. Since the goal of the show was to exhibit the wonderful and wild Brown family, beginning with my story just didn't make sense. It would have been hurtful to all of those who built this family from the ground up. In addition to this, Cody worried that if the first thing the audience saw him do was get married, people would misinterpret his intentions and view him as the marrying guy instead of the family man he is. After much discussion, Cody convinced the production team to begin the show with the core family and then introduce my story. This meant once again pushing back my wedding. Now my courtship would be extremely drawn out. And not only that, it would be filmed, something I never anticipated. And that Cody and I had time to ourselves before the cameras intruded into our lives. I'm sure that I would have gotten to know him had he been filmed. I'm sure that I wouldn't have gotten to know him had he been filming the show from the start. Eventually, we were able to settle on a date for our wedding at the end of May. When I began to plan the wedding, I wanted to involve my future sister wives as much as possible. I was aware that since TLC had become involved, the wedding was going to be a much larger event than I was comfortable with. And I worried that the amount of attention lavished on my wedding day that might lead to hurt feelings within the family. I wanted to make sure that my special day was as much as a celebration about my family as it was my marriage. I wanted to do everything within my power to avoid offending my sister wives, some of whom didn't have the opportunity to have a large wedding. I had also wanted to do everything within my power to avoid offending my sister wives, some of whom didn't have the opportunity to have a large wedding. And I had also watched other women in our church who were coming into a family not include the present wives in the reception and celebration of their marriage. I heard horror stories about these wives being hurt as they watched from the sidelines as the new wife married their husband. I was determined to make it a happy day for everyone. While I was beginning to plan my wedding, Cody made a large commission online sign he had been trying to sell for ages. We used the money and my tax return to help me and my kids move into my own apartment in Lehigh. This made planning the wedding infinitely easier. It also allowed me to start to develop a closer relationship with my sister wives. Of course, it would have been nicer for me to have been able to have a place in or near the big house, not in one of the other wives' apartments, but in my own. This would have made me feel integrated into the family instead of feeling like an outsider. However, this was not possible since the house was designed for a man with 3 wives, not 4. I know a lot of people probably misinterpreted the fact that I was given my own house as my preferable treatment. This was not the case at all. There was simply no other reasonable option. When I got to Lehigh, I made it very clear to my sister wives that I wanted my wedding celebration to be about family. I made sure to include them in every step of the planning process. The flowers, the cake, the invitations, the food. In fact, Janelle even picked the location herself, which is great. My sister wives and I even went dress shopping for my wedding dress. The experience was really fun and it was great to bond with them. I loved having their advice, but I didn't find a dress. Later, I was looking by myself and was having trouble finding what would be appropriate. I had never been a plural wife before, so I was a little nervous about what word Cody called and offered to help me.